Welcome to the Impact Multiplier CEO podcast. If you're a chief executive, or if you think like one, and you want to create exponentially greater impact, then this show is for you. My name is Richard Medcalf, founder of Xquadrant. I coach some of the most successful and impressive CEOs and executive teams on the planet and help them achieve extraordinary results. And no matter how successful you've been in the past, there's always a whole new level of impact available to you. So, if you're ready to play a bigger game than ever before, I invite you to join us and become an Impact Multiplier CEO. Today I speak with Rohit Arora, who is the CEO and founder of Biz2Credit, America's 412th fastest growing company. Rohit is perhaps the granddaddy of fintech. He set up a financial services technology-based business in 2007, right? The year the iPhone came out, way before fintech became fashionable like it is today. And he set up a business with a mission. As a first generation immigrant, he could see a real need amongst the immigrant community for easy access to credit so that they could build businesses and create their livelihoods. And so that long-term sense of impact has really driven the business. He's made some very clever choices, which has positioned the business for huge scale in the future, probably globally. So enjoy this conversation, listen in to that long-term strategic and almost moral perspective behind the way he's building the business and the ups and downs of the journey. Here's the really interesting discussion with Rohit Arora. Hi, Rohit, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Well, today we want to explore your secrets of scaling, Rohit. You've built Biz2Credit, which is America's 412th fastest growing company, into an industry-leading digital platform solutions play, as I understand it, for banks and other financial institutions. I know you started it, it's many years ago, and you've now seen this great success. So what I'd love to do today is dive into that and find out a little bit about the story behind that. So perhaps can we just start at the start? What led you, I think it was back in 2006, something like that, to actually...
2007, yeah.
2007, there we go. So back in 2007, what was it that set you on this journey? Why did you decide this is the business that I want to build?
I think that's a very interesting question. Like any other startup, this was partly planned and partly opportunistic and partly accidental. Because startups don't just come along with just a great plan initially ever. So me and my brother, we are first generation immigrants into the country, came from India, and being in New York, we used to meet with a lot of business owners and a lot of immigrants. And one theme there that was always there, even prior to the great financial crisis, was that how tough it was for small businesses, small and mid-sized businesses, to get access to capital, which was very surprising for me. That I thought in a country like US, which still has a very well-oiled financial system, it should have been pretty easy for good, hardworking, small and mid-sized businesses to get access to credit, but that was not the case, and that is still not the case to a large extent. So that's where the idea really germinated, and this was at that time when internet was just becoming more ubiquitous. 2007, when Steve Jobs launched the first iPhone, it was very clear that now internet will move from a desktop to into the hands of the people. And that was a very, very, I would say, seminal moment, because it was very clear even that point of time that for a lot of business owners who are always on a run, now if they have internet in their hands, it will change their overall dynamics of doing business. So when we started the company, there was no term like fintech. There was nothing hot about this sector, which has now become so hot.
Right. And yeah. So you were there before fintech. You were the original fintech company, right? By the sound of it.
Yeah. So we were like one of the original fintech firms when the word fintech was not even coined. And the idea, what we had at that point of time was that how can we set up a digital platform where businesses can come in, they can converge, they can put all their information and data. And typically, the models that were working at that point of time in the internet world were mostly lead gen models, where you
Yeah.
aggregate those leads and then you sell it to different stakeholders, whether they were lenders, insurance companies, or other
Right.
folks. And where we differentiated ourselves was, we said we're not going to sell it at leads, because if once you sell this information as leads, then
Gone.
you don't, yeah, exactly, they're gone. You don't own a relationship. They have no reason to come back to you. So we said, what if we create a platform where these business owners can come in, they can put all their data, they can come back, they can review what they are doing, and then we do all the analysis piece, and then we get lenders at the back end to go and do the lending piece of it.
Got it.
So that's how we started the company. It was a small start here in New York, and we initially were very focused in the New York region, and then the Great Recession hit, and it was a very tough next 2.5 years, because we were ourselves were a small business at that point of time, and then all of a sudden credit totally vanished from the market, while
Yeah.
there was a great need for credit at that point of time. But what
So
it did, yeah.
yeah, so I was going to say, in one way you're in the right place because there was a need. On the other hand, it was extremely tough, I guess,
Extremely tough.
initially.
Yeah, yeah. The good thing that happened because of that was that we figured out that a lot of the business owners started looking online at that point of time, because their existing
Right.
relationship with banks went for a toss, and we thought that this could be a great time to invest more money into a business like this, and once the market start coming back, then it will become
Mm.
a much bigger business. We also figured out that there were five big, touch points for businesses. It was like keeping their books, payroll, payments, filing their taxes, and doing some kind of marketing, for their businesses. And we said, what if we start plugging into those ecosystems? So the word APIs, or that API concept, was still not there.
Yeah.
So we started envisaging that that if we can work on that, and we can create a platform, a technology. And as I said, next 2.5 years was a very much a struggle for us. Also, we were a small company, we didn't have a lot of money,
Yeah.
but we kept plugging along with our vision for building a platform, a technology where SMBs could come and converge. Actually.
Yeah. So I think what I love about this story, Rohit, is that you started in a way with what you had. Do you know what I mean? You were, as you said, first generation immigrant. I guess you other people in those communities, right, who
Yes.
were having real issues, right, about getting their access to credit. And so you saw in that a problem that you could solve, and and it was meaningful, I
Yeah.
guess, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, because sometimes it's easy to think about looking for business, way outside your sphere of reference, like what's hot in the world. But actually, the answer was really, really close to you, right, in the business owners that you knew, I guess, in New York when you were there.
Yeah. 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 So looking at their pain points, looking at what they were doing well and what they were not doing well, and
Yes.
then our ability to go and solve for those problems, one by one. and
Yes.
and I think that was a very much our strategy at that point of time. It was a strategy that required a lot of patience and a lot of time and effort, because it was not something, a problem that you could solve overnight. And it's still a problem. We have made a lot of progress, but I still view this as much like we are still at the starting point. We haven't really, there's so much more coming now because of
Right.
COVID. So I think the idea always was to create this ecosystem, get all these businesses, get all their data, analyze them, give them the insights, and then build the right lending products on the other side, and then start offering that back to them.
Got it. So where are you now? So that was the early days, obviously, and then you started to grow, and then you had this massive financial crisis to go through, and now fast forward to 2021. You've made the Financial Times list. So just give us a sense of how big the company is and what it's achieved in that period.
Yeah, so I think it has been a very interesting last 18 months. We were growing pretty well prior to the COVID, and then the COVID came, and then we saw the impact of COVID initially, and then with such a big stimulus coming in, that it totally turned around. So the company, we have grown a lot, even more in 2020 and now 2021. We are close to 600 people in the company now, and since we are a technology platform company, so we don't have to employ like armies of people to go and
Yeah,
achieve
sure.
scale, because once you have a platform, then it becomes like a flywheel kind of a concept, and then it grows very quickly. And what we have seen over the last 18 months is that all the investments that over the years we have made in technology, in our data science, in our overall customer relationships, are starting to pay off in a very big way now for us. And just during the PPP, which was a government-led program, and we were one of the lenders, so we did close to $5 billion in lending in that itself.
Wow.
And we acquired close to, I would say, 200,000 new customers during that process over last 18 months. So I would say last 18 months has really, shown us that if you have the perseverance, patience, and the vision in business, and you stick around, times will change. And then it's like then and right now what's happening is because of the COVID, the whole digital acceleration, or the acceleration towards the digital space, has increased so tremendously
Yeah.
now,
Yes.
that we are seeing a lot of tailwind because of that in our business now.
So let me take the conversation a slightly different route at this point. It's easy to get into, and perhaps we'll get there in some of the strategies and techniques you've used. And obviously, I hear that you built this ecosystem, this data platform, products on top of that, and that's really been scaling. But let's just go back to a little bit about the why. Like, what drives you? What motivates you? Right? You had to do this for the long haul, right? I mean, you've been in this business for almost 15 years. You've gone through some difficult periods. What's the driving force?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question, and I joke around, but that's true. When I started the business, I had full crop of hair, and and I've lost most of it, because running a startup and then scaling it up is an extremely stressful and an extremely uncertain kind of stuff. We have survived two big recessions, and not only have we survived, we have thrived through both of it, and have actually grown quite a bit. I think the challenges always have been that, and what really drives us is, I would say, our mission and our passion. So we started this business not to make money. I have a very strong belief that, you should never chase money. You should always chase a vision, and create some kind of a value, out there. That is something very important, actually. And I think our long-term vision is something that drives us. Our long-term mission to, again, as to serve underserved businesses, businesses which have having initially, or even right now, have hard time to get access to capital or ability to grow. That's very important for us. Create a lot of employment, both directly and indirectly. That's an important piece, and helping people achieve their dreams. I think that's very important. Those are the things that really drive us forward in terms of achieving more success. And by not focusing on trying to make money, or maximization of our own interest, in my view, that is a better value proposition for a business like ours.
Mm. Well, as I like to say, finance is the fuel, but it has to power something, right? I mean, it's it's fuel for destination, right? A business needs
Yes,
it,
yes.
and obviously you want people to be well paid and enjoy their jobs and everything. And but I think that impact as well that you talked about is fantastic. You talked about helping people achieve their dreams. Like, how practically does that? Sounds a very lofty ambition. How do you make that something you can do something with?
Yeah, so I will give you a few examples. Like, a lot of businesses come to us, they're opening up a restaurant or a cell phone store or a liquor store, these main street mom and pop businesses, and they are having still very hard time in getting access to credit, some guidance. When they come on our platform, they get all those different things, through our tools, through our, what we have case managers who are really relationship managers. So we invest a lot of time, money, and effort in that. We are very invested in the in, like, helping the businesses which are on our platform to grow, to get better, more sustainable, businesses that they can go and build, and also, help to create even more jobs. So I think It sounds lofty, but on ground, if you are able to help a lot of these mom and pop businesses, and that's a global need, and that's a global thirst now. And I think COVID has even shown that even more, that the need to support and nurture small businesses is extremely important for well-being of any economy out there.
These conversations are all about scaling yourself to scale your business. And one of the biggest barriers that stops us from doing that is getting stuck in operations and not spending time on the most valuable strategic work. So, I do recommend that you take our free executive productivity assessment. It's just 10 quick questions to find out exactly where you are on the journey to executive time management mastery. You'll then discover how you can free yourself up for more strategic activity. To take the assessment, head to xquadrant.com/go/productivity assessment with a hyphen between those two last words. Now, back to the conversation. Yeah, that's fantastic. On the journey, what's one thing that you think you did really, really well that's helped the business scale? And what's one thing you feel that you got a bit wrong at one point and you had to correct on?
So I think where we did well was in our long-term vision and in our long-term, perseverance. Our ability to make sacrifices, our ability to not chase mindless growth, too quickly, has been our strength. I think some of our weaknesses or mistakes have been just, there have been, instances where we could have grown faster or spend more money on branding and marketing kind of stuff, that we didn't do earlier because we were very focused on just building more and more value, and also, also you are having the right use of money. So I think those are the things that we could have done more in that sense. But I think overall, having a long-term vision and ability to stick through good times and bad times, I think is very important for any business.
Yeah, it's a bit like it sounds like in a way at some point perhaps you were like a best kept secret, right? That you'd built a lot of value, but it wasn't quite out there at the scale that it could have been.
Exactly.
But in a sense, that's a great position to be in, isn't it? Where you build a gem that you can then you can then show out to the world. And I think sometimes it's better to do it that way than to over-index on the marketing, right, and not have the substance behind it. So I guess
that's true. And we saw that during the crisis, two of our biggest competitors who had raised a lot of money, one of them had gone even public, and they spent a lot more money than us on marketing. Both of them folded up. Right. So that was very obvious and clear that when you are putting a lot of polish on things without having substance, that doesn't work for very long.
And I'd imagine you might have some word of mouth as well, right? Given your kind of business, if people are running a business and a lot of
our business comes word of mouth. A lot of our business comes from the fact that we are very consistent in what we do.
Yes.
We don't change course too much. We are very patient with the way we want to grow, and we don't want to like we have a lot of growth ambitions. We don't lack any of that ambition. But we also don't like to rush into things, in a mindless manner.
Yeah, I love this long-term perspective and building something that's durable, right, and that's well thought through. Where do you go from here? So you've got to your 600 people. You said the investments are really paying off. You're starting to see that scale. If we're having this conversation in 2 or 3 years, what would you hope to be telling me?
So I would say there are 2 or 3 things. Obviously, we are investing a lot of money in our technology piece, because that's something that is gathering so much of pace and adoption right now. So our Biz2X business is a great example where, we started it in 2019. We already have like 50, 60 banks who are using our platform. We already run a large commercial lending platform in Australia as a joint venture. We are looking to go global now, in some of the other countries where there's an acute need for, SME financing and also ecosystems and digital platforms. So that's part of the plan. Part of the plan is to create more IP And I think if in 2 or 3 years, if everything works according to a plan, then be, be a much bigger brand. And then and if it makes sense at that point of time, even plan to go IPO.
Yeah, nice. And so how many markets are you in today, and how many, what does going global mean for you? What would that look
Right
like?
now, obviously, US is our biggest market. We have presence in India. We work with some of the largest lenders there to license our Biz2X platform. In Australia, we run a joint venture. So obviously, in some of those markets like India and Australia, we are deepening down more to grow our business. While in US, there's a lot of opportunity right now because post-COVID world is looking very different than pre-COVID world in terms of digital adoptions.
Yes.
And then we are looking at some of the other markets where we foresee that there's going to be a lot of opportunity and demand for our Biz2X platform now.
Yeah, fantastic. And so here's a question to perhaps make you think, as you go from that today's business to perhaps scaling out across multiple new markets, how's your own leadership going to need to change? What's the growth that you're going to need to take in order to continue to lead the company, right, through this increasing complexity and scale? How might you want to shift what you do?
Yeah, so I think the key is that, again, going back, if you have a long-term vision and you have patience and you can empower people, like hire the right people and then empower them and let them make some mistakes, don't stop them from doing that. And have a very strong framework of doing things. I think that's important. Frameworks, you need to set up the culture, and you need to have those frameworks. So that should not change too much from market to market out there. Having said that, I think empowering people, doing things the right way, having a very strong moral compass is very important, because if as founders or as senior leadership team you don't have long-term patience and vision, then your folks won't have that, and that I think is very important, that don't be in a rush to get things done. Because I think right now people are in a lot of rush, like they feel like, okay, let me go and raise more money, next round of funding, and then just keep, and they feel this is going to keep going on. And in my view, that's not going to happen. We are coming into a point where we will see this bubble getting bursted, sooner than later now. And I think the way we have grown over the years is that keep your path very consistent and disciplined. And the power of compounding is so large that people will come, people will fall away, people will have setbacks. If as a company we can just maintain our focus and our mission, then we can just keep growing, and that growth accelerates every year because of that focus and that and that being true to your mission, actually.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, that all sounds fantastic. Which bit of that would you say for you is the biggest thing you're going to have to remember, shift on or do slightly differently? Because I can already see that you're doing a lot of work on the long-term vision, the empowering, these kind of things that must be happening already. So what's it going to be? Is it more that you feel you'll need to spend less time on some of those operational decisions yourself and more time on setting culture and providing and communicating, or just wondering what the shift is like? What were you doing? What are you doing today that you think might be different in 2 or 3 years?
I would say the difference is setting the vision, making everybody remain true to the mission, conveying that message at a more scalable manner.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Operational side is still very important. I think a lot of founders or CEO miss that, or make a mistake when they think like, once the company has grown to a certain level, they say, okay, I don't need to understand or know the operations as well as I used to know. I think it's very, very important that as the company grows, you need to know the operations even better. And there's a reason behind it, because as you get more people in the company, the way they will learn from you and the way they will respect you is when you know the operations really well. That doesn't mean you need to run the operations on a day-to-day basis. That just means that you need to still delve into that. You cannot just be like a hands-off kind of a founder or a C-level executive, because my views are that if you have to be active founder or an active CEO, then you need to be involved in all the critical operational issues out there. You need to know the bottlenecks, you need to know the challenges, even more than opportunities, in my view, and then guide everybody and then ensure that you can allocate the right resources. I think
Right.
a big role of a founder or a CEO or a co-founder is that right resources are allocated to solve right problems or to address right opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think that you cannot get that visibility until unless you are involved in operations, until unless you know how things are run. You might not be running it on a day-to-day basis, but having that cadence and having that visibility is extremely important.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's a real balance, right? Because you want to maintain a depth of understanding on the business.
Yes.
But we only have so much attention, and one of the things I see with a lot with my clients actually is that there is always a real opportunity when you get to step back and think. And a lot of leaders do get snarled in operations, as in they get so much into the details that they miss that one move, that one conversation that's going to be a breakthrough.
Yes.
But you can have the other way as well, right? People who are too much in the clouds and then who
Yes. So that's it. That's a kind of a fine balance that you have to maintain, because you cannot just go one way and just leave the other side totally. You need to have that balance, and also you need to get better at these things. Because as a CEO of a growing company or a fast growing company, your role and responsibilities are going to be very different than compared to when you started the company. So so as a person, as the company evolves, you also have to evolve yourself. You have to learn new skill sets. You have to address new issues that you wouldn't have addressed in the past, actually. And you need to be willing to work even harder. Life doesn't get easy. So that, I think, is like something that a lot of people feel, that after you achieve a certain scale and all that, then I can step back. If you want to step back, then just step out, in my view. There's nothing like stepping back, because if you still want to be part of the company, then you have to work harder. That's it.
Yes. As John Maxwell, the author, wrote, the leader is the lid on the organization, right? And so, you talking about the need to continue to grow and to evolve, that's really in that, right? For me, it's true. It's like, for me, the biggest organizational breakthroughs come with leadership breakthroughs. There's no business transformation without team transformation. There's no team transformation without individual transformation. If the leader is not growing, the organization tends to stagnate, right? Because there's no new thinking. Well, hey, it's been fascinating talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. I love your long-term vision, that kind of moral compass that's built the business, and then this real focus on building a scalable, platform-based operation that actually serves underserved communities, right? And business owners who want to build their livelihood and get it going.
Exactly.
So sounds like there's a lot of excitement, a lot of exciting opportunities as you go global. If people want to get in touch find out a bit more about the business or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think the best way is that they can come on our website, biz2credit.com. They can write me an email at info@biz2credit.com. That comes directly to me. Or they can also check biz2x.com, which is our platform, website. And I think that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Well, Rohit, it's been a pleasure talking to you. So let's leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best for the future. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Now let's talk about you. When you're in top leadership, when you're in the biggest role of your career, who supports you at a deep level as you lead others? Who helps you multiply your impact and get to the next level? If you're ready to learn more about our content, our coaching, and our community, then visit us at Xquadrant.com.